You know, some days we just have to take our victories where we can find them and be happy in the little things, even though they're the obvious things. Hey, this is Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack that bell, click the word all to get notification of all of my rants, and please like and share this video. That's how we get the word out we're here, and we can expose all of America to my rants, my ravings, and of course, my undeniably 100% accurate ravings and reasonings. Hey, this is the Afternoon Drive. Welcome. So for the past few days, the libloons and the swamp dwellers up on Capitol Hill and the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media have been losing their minds and going bat crap crazy over impeachment with no evidence. No evidence. There's no evidence whatsoever. There's no evidence for this. So a reporter, thinking they were going to corner Kevin McCarthy, got schooled by Kevin McCarthy.
You know, impeachment inquiry is not impeachment. So what impeachment inquiry is to do is to get answers to questions. Are you concerned about all the stuff that was just recently learned? Do you have any concern? Have you asked the White House any questions? Okay. Do you believe the president lied to the American public when he said he'd never talked to his son about business dealings? Yes or no? It's all right. You can't answer that? Do you believe when they said the president went on conference calls? Do you believe that happened?
That's what the testimony says.
Okay. Do you believe the president went to Cafe Milano and had dinner with the clients of Hunter Biden, who believes he got those clients because he was selling the brand?
That's what the testimony
Okay. Do you believe Hunter Biden, when you saw the video of him driving a Porsche, that he got $143,000 to buy that Porsche the next day? Do you believe the $3 million from the Russian oligarch that was transferred to the shell companies that the Bidens controlled after the dinner from Cafe Milano took place?
for the testimony.
Okay, then I go back. Do you think the president lied when he
Is
said...
that an impeachable? Is lying an impeachable?
Well, you want to know. I'm not saying impeachment. All I'm saying is I would like to know answers to these questions. The American public would like to know, and that's what impeachment inquiry provides.
Now, we know that by conviction, McCarthy did not necessarily want to go down the pathway of impeachment inquiry. We know that because we know the rhinos don't want anything to do with this. They say it's because they're going to embolden the Biden base and this will be bad for the election, that it will garner support for Joe Biden, and look how it backfired on Bill Clinton and it only made him more popular. Yet these same swamp-dwelling vermin that call themselves Republican when in reality they're just Democrats dressed in Republican drag, they allowed Donald Trump to be impeached twice. They have done nothing to stop any of these indictments that are coming the way of President Trump. And yet we're watching his poll numbers rise. And the reason is the Americans, by and large, get it. You go back to the Bill Clinton thing. You know, Bill Clinton was able to successfully portray that as, look, this is about my private life, this is about sex. And John F. Kennedy and every other president had a mistress on the side. And I'm sorry, but by and large, the American people bought that explanation, and they were kind of like, yeah, okay, we get it. And that was what caused his popularity to swell. Donald Trump, again, the American people got it. They knew there was no Russia collusion. They knew it, and the case had been made where it all came from, Hillary Rotham Clinton and the Democrats. And they saw the alphabet intel agencies doing everything they could to take down President Donald Trump. And then, of course, the whole Ukraine impeachment, which turns out to be, look, Donald Trump was absolutely right in looking into what was the corruption of Hunter and Joe Biden going on in Ukraine. And look where we are now, boys and girls. So Donald Trump was actually way ahead of the curve on that one. And so he's been vindicated that way. People see these indictments for what they are, that he is a political threat to his enemies, to his opposition, and they have weaponized the intel community, they have weaponized the Department of Justice, and this is now we're going to jail those that we are in political opposition to. Can I make a pause right here and give you a little biblical truth on this? It's the same reason, are you ready for this? Christ ended up on the cross. Now, theologically speaking, Christ went to the cross to pay for the sins of mankind. It was the will of the Father that he be the sacrifice for the sin of man. But what was the tool that God chose to use to get his Son to that cross? Politics. Caiaphas, the high priest, was threatened by Christ. He was threatened by his popularity. He was threatened how the people loved him, how the people were following him. And that meant for Caiaphas that his power, his authority, his control over the people and their money was going to take a hit. And he couldn't have that. Christ was upsetting the way things were done, the status quo. And so Caiaphas went to Pilate, the Roman governor of the land, and said, you got to do something about this Jesus of Nazareth. He's trying to overthrow Caesar. Pilate knew that was a bunch of bullhock, but he was also up against the wall politically, and so he gave in to Caiaphas the high priest and his demand that Christ be crucified. Look at that, boys and girls. Politics. Eliminate your political opposition. Fast forward to today. What do we have happening? And the American people see it, and the American people get it. And don't think that going after Joe Biden is going to garner him all types of overwhelming support. We know the sycophants in the media, yes. You know, the Holly weirdos and the hags at The View that think everything is going so well. Why don't people like Joe Biden? Why? You know, I'm 80 years old and I'm a millionaire and live, a luxurious lifestyle, and I've never even been in a grocery store in the past 40 years. I have servants that do that for me. Why are you American people, you peasants, not happy with the crumbs Joe Biden has given you? I'm Joy, not a Babeheart. Watch me rant every day on The View. Why anybody watches those miserable hags over on ABC, and even the ones that pretend to be conservative aren't, and every one of them is a skank and a hag, and there I said it. Get mad? I don't care. That all said, the American people understand that Joe is not only grotesquely incompetent, a habitual, pathological, proven liar. Repeatedly, even CNN is calling him out on this.
The president has a pattern at this point of either inventing or embellishing stories about his own past, his biography. He did it 3 times in one speech last month alone. He claimed he had witnessed a bridge collapse in Pittsburgh when he actually showed up about 6 hours later. He claimed that his grandfather had died just days before he was born himself at the same hospital. In fact, his grandpa died more than a year before in a different state, not the same hospital. And he also repeated a favorite false story that I and others have debunked over and over again about a supposed conversation with an Amtrak train conductor he was friends with, who was actually deceased at the time the conversation would have had to take place. Previously in his presidency, he claimed at one point he'd been arrested during a civil rights protest, when in other versions of the story he just said an officer had taken him home from a protest. He said he had visited the Pittsburgh synagogue where worshipers were killed in a 2018 mass shooting. In fact, he had actually spoken to the rabbi, but never went. He said that he used to drive a tractor trailer, he used to drive an 18-wheeler. Never happened. The White House later clarified he used to drive a school bus at one point as a job briefly. School bus, of course, not an 18-wheeler. This is an unfortunate pattern that keeps coming up again and again with Joe Biden.
But the American people have been doing their homework, and they know they were lied to. Lied to. Intel communities say that this nonsense about Hunter Biden being involved with, foreign governments and influence peddling, it's all Russian disinformation. And now they found out they were lied to again. And the American people, allow me to say it this way, are pissed. They've had it. They've had it. Nothing in their life works. Everything is more expensive. And we still haven't gotten over the Rovid restrictions and this saber rattling they're doing now to bring it back. And as our own economy tanks, we're giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine with no end in sight. You've got people like Lindsey Graham that have wet dreams and premature ejaculation over giving them even more weapons and missiles because, Lindsey Graham would have us perpetually at war with somebody all the time. It's where he and the Democrats and the military-industrial complex are all, literally in bed having a war orgy together. But you also have now, we gave $6 billion to Iran. We got 5 people back. We gave them 5 people they paid nothing for. Oh, and we've given a terrorist nation with nuclear capability $6 billion with a B dollars. This is the Joe Biden administration. On one level, incompetent. On a whole new level, corrupt beyond words. We're going to go after a former president over having documents which he had the full authorization to declassify, when for the past 40 plus years, Joe Biden was taking classified documents while he was a senator, which he had no authorization to do, and when he was vice president, which he had no authorization to do, and he's got 100 times the number of documents that Trump ever dreamed of taking. What's being done about that? Absolutely nada. Why? Because Merrick Garland is corrupt, and the entire Department of Justice system under him is nothing more than a political hit job, the Gestapo of the Biden administration. And here we are, boys and girls, and the American people get it, and they want some answers, and the impeachment inquiry gives Congress some real subpoena power. So you can keep screaming, no evidence, no evidence, no evidence. We're about to find some evidence, aren't we? Now, does Biden get impeached? Probably not, because Mitch McConnell and the feckless Republicans in the Senate will never persuade enough Democrats to join that. But it could lead to an impeachment under this one condition. If the powers that be are like, yeah, it's time for Biden to go, he won't step down, we've got Gavin Newsom greased and ready in the wings, ready to step forward onto center stage, yeah, Biden got to go. So again, is McCarthy really on our side, and is he had a come to Jesus moment? Probably not, but we'll take this victory lap. We've earned it. It's been a long time coming, and McCarthy, thank you for standing up and saying the logical here. Are you people in the media, aren't you the remotely curious? Do you ask any real questions, or are you just constantly being handed the talking points from the White House, and that's what you go out and read every night? Handed the talking points from the CIA about why we need to have all these endless wars everywhere. Do you do any investigative work whatsoever at all anymore, other than looking into and making up things about Donald Trump? So on that note, Kevin McCarthy, you get a big thumbs up. And that is that.